Okay, lunch with the legends. Todd Blazer's here. Okay, I know I'm supposed to do this tomorrow. Shit happens. We're here today. I got the Blaze here. This is brought to you by Builtwell. This episode is brought to you by Builtwell. BuiltwellInc.com. If you need a helmet, you need riding gear, you need goggles, they do events. Absolutely go to BuiltwellInc.com and get yourself set up, okay? I love Magoo. He's awesome. So today, look, Tommy Brackens is watching. All right, here we go. Todd Blazer's here. Elf. SE. Nobody even knew he's on SE. We're going to talk about that today. Robinson. Sundance. Let's talk about it. Tommy Bright. Brian Gass is watching. It's incredible. Here we go. Welcome to the show, Todd Blazer.
Right on. Cool. Thank you for having me.
No problem. What's up?
What's up, bro?
What's up, bro? Let's shout out to Grego. So, Blaze, known you for a long time. But I'm interested in one facet of your life, and that is you grew up in Wisconsin, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and you somehow made it to become a legendary AA in California. Please.
Legendary might be pushing it a
No,
little bit.
you
but
are.
Okay.
Trust you guys. I'm going to tell you because I was a fan of all you guys, even when you're an MVP. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, growing up in Wisconsin, how do you find BMX? How does it work for you?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, right? So, summertime, everybody was out on their bikes, just like here. And I think since I learned to ride a bike, I was always like fascinated by it, popping wheelies, wrecking it.
Motocross or anything?
No motocross.
You don't say it didn't inspire you. You just a bike. You like
no,
bikes?
just bikes, right? So
okay.
it was big back then, like in the summer. Like my brother was doing it, all his older friends were doing it.
And what year was this?
So this was probably
Roy Stanley, I love you.
like mid 70s.
Okay.
You know, 76, 77, 78.
Awesome.
Riding Stingrays and jumping and doing ramps and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then when the winter comes, we would put like spikes in the tires, right?
No
we would
shit.
put screws in the tires and stuff. And we would ride in the snow. We'd ride in the ice. That's how we got from place to place, and even in the winter.
Amazing. And
So-
how long were the winters there for anybody that isn't familiar with
It's
Wisconsin?
like 6 months, so it could be from like November to April, kind of thing,
Sounds
right?
very Jersey-esque.
Yeah, very much like that. But you just didn't care. That's what you grew up in. That's what you did, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so I always loved it. And I skated and I did all that stuff, but I wasn't like a group sport kind of kid. I was more of an individual kind of sport kind of kid. I was skiing, I was biking, I was gymnastics, track, that kind of stuff, right? It was all individual. So BMX to me just kind of fit right in that realm of like it's you and the track and against other people.
And your freedom, right? You get on the bike and you're like, I'm free. I don't got to talk to my parents until it's dark.
Yeah. Like I'm sure you've heard of stories of everybody, right? Like back then, you would hop on your bike, you'd leave in the morning, and you wouldn't get back until the sun went down. You know, you might call your mom from your friend's house like at 4 o'clock. Yeah, Mom, I'm over at Johnny's house, right? I'll be home by 8 o'clock or whatever. But
Get a Slurpee and keep running.
that's right. But we used to put on miles, and
Mark Lopez is watching.
right, honey, Mark. So yeah, and the winter didn't stop us. Like we would just buckle up and all our stuff, and I would ride over to my friend's house, and then we would go ride, and we'd go ride out onto the lakes, like because they were all frozen over, right? So we'd be out there, and we'd build jumps out of like the little beaver huts, and we'd have tracks, and like so we do all this cool stuff.
Was there any indoor stuff for you to race?
There was, yeah. So I mean, Elkhorn, which is still going today, that was around. I mean, there was all the like the Rondo Classic kind of stuff, right? So there was a circuit kind of in the Midwest where there was, you know, Iowa was big, Wisconsin a little bit, Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, that whole little section right there. Everybody had some kind of indoor track that you could go to and race. So we were always kind of racing year round. You know, cement, wood jumps, that kind of stuff. Not a lot of dirt.
Did you find yourself? How good were you on this cement stuff?
I was really good.
You were.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, I loved it.
Nice.
I loved it. But that's
Pure fact about the Blaze right there.
You know, that's how we grew up. So I have a pretty good story about that. If you want to go into it real quick, when the USBA was kind of coming up, right, and there was that friction between ABA and USBA, and and they had a race in Minnesota Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where they held the Rondo Classic. Yeah. And so the USBA put on a big race there, a big national there, and not a lot of people wanted to go to that race, right? So, but guys like Hill, Leary, Balmer, Grubbs, those kind of guys. Like Hill was chasing the USBA #1 pro plate, right? He ended up winning it.
I remember.
But he told me the story that like he kind of went to that race thinking his dad was telling him like, you got to go to that race. No one's going to beat us. Like that's an easy win.
Okay.
Like you should go, right?
Handle it.
So he went, and that was I was still racing for Sundance at the time.
Mike Rodriguez was.
Right on. And I think I won open on Saturday. I don't remember who won pro. It was probably Hill. And then on Sunday, I doubled. I won open and pro. First time ever.
Okay.
Against like Grubbs, Balmer. Hill was there. I want to say Harry was there. Maybe he wasn't.
That's
you know,
insane.
Dave Christensen
Yeah.
back in the day. Like that
that
whole
a Tahoe?
crew. Yeah. So that was just like so cool.
I think we're getting a little too
So
far
anyway,
in.
so I jumped in.
No, it's okay. Because that one that put you on the map, basically? Because you were.
No, I was
right?
kind of already.
You were. 'Cause you were a
I was
pro
getting
then.
there. Yeah. So that was when I was double A.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was kind of like my first big win, I would say, as far as like being
And it
a
was on
double.
cement.
It was on cement. It was on wood jumps, man. And I can just.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What was you remember your first magazine you ever looked at? Did it inspire you?
Yeah. So, well, the first magazine I ever looked at was probably Super BMX.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We used to go to the Village Peddler, which was like right around the corner from my high school. So we knew exactly when that magazine was going to come out. We'd leave high school or junior high probably at that point, walk over there, pick that thing up, you know, take it home. I had subscriptions to BMX Plus, BMXA, ABA paper, you know, like boom, knew exactly when that stuff was hitting the mailbox. And then I would say at one point I got a 2-page spread in Super BMX from the ABA Grands when I was like 14 expert on co-sponsored GT.
No way.
Like full on going over the jump, leading, and I had like my friends had told me about it, and so I ran over to the Village Peddler, picked it, like that was my first picture in the magazine.
You were just.
Yeah, I mean I wasn't even good, right? It just happened to have. It's one of those pictures that just made it, right? But
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't even know if I made it out of my motos at that race.
But you got a 2-page spread.
You got a 2-page spread.
Imagine if you had photo contingency, you'd be rich. That's awesome. So then how does what was your first race? Tell me about your first race you ever did. Jason Chang, how are you, buddy?
Hey man, first race. I would say my first race was probably at a track in Madison. It's probably 79. Wow. I guess it was 79. So there's a group of us who were kind of really promoting getting a track in Madison. So there was one in Milwaukee, there was one in Illinois, there was some tracks, every place but Madison. So we were kind of part of a group that, were promoting that. We ended up getting a track there. So my first race, I think I got like a 3rd place trophy at that track. The track started out, you had 3 whoops, and then you started to go uphill like this. And it had a tabletop, and then it had like a sweeping turn. But it was so funny because like you would never see that kind of a track anymore, right? Like you come down the hill, 3 whoops, and then you start to climb a hill as the first straight.
Probably made you who you are today, right? Because you made your first straight good when you finally were able to open it up a little bit.
So that was probably my first real trophy. And then there's a couple other small races. Like I remember racing at a track called now I don't even remember the name of it, but it was a motocross track just outside of Milwaukee, and they did a BMX race there, and they used the motocross gate that dropped backwards.
No way.
Yeah, as the gate, and so
that's
that
cool.
was So that was.
I think you missed your calling because you started. If you'd have done Indy Worlds in '79, you probably would have won.
But you were just, did you start just after?
I was there.
You were
I
there.
got third.
That's where you got
I got third. Yeah. In 14 like novice or something. Yeah, third place world champion.
Cement king.
Yeah.
You're a novice world champion. Guys, that's a tip you did not know. The Blaze was a novice world champion. Okay? That's why he went on to superstardom. Anyway, so that was a fun race to go to. Like just the bikes, like you see pictures of some of that stuff now, right? Like just the bikes that are just lined up in the middle of the place, and just the crowd, and you were testing me out that one picture of Harry signing autographs, and it's like 10 deep.
Yeah.
And these kids are beating each other up. You see their arms over the other one trying to. It's
totally.
like, wow, that's rock star shit.
That is rock star stuff. And then that's what those guys were back then. They were rock stars, right? Because you could only see them in a magazine. So, and then you could only see them a few times a year if you actually got to a national, right? So if you were lucky enough where your parents could get you to a national, and typically in the Midwest we would go to 2 or 3. That's about all you could go to, right? So that was a big deal.
So what were the big nationals around you? Waterford Oaks was.
Waterford Oaks was big.
Huge,
Elkhart, Indiana.
Elkhart was huge. That's Wendy Edmonds. That was running Elkhart.
That was huge. Itasca. So if you're talking about like NBL, Itasca and Peoria.
Wow,
those ones.
I'm shaking my brain up here. I remember Elkhart in the magazines. I was like, look at these guys. Like it was awesome.
Yeah.
To see it. Like you said, like I would go, like Howell, New Jersey was my home track, so when we had our nationals, War of the Stars, I would go hunt for these people. Where's Greg? Where's Stu? I gotta find these guys. They're behind the first corner. Yeah. You'd run over there with all your stuff. It was like rock stars. Amazing. So when you are a novice world champ at this point, which is awesome. I'm gonna hold you to that. When did you feel like you were like, I'm gonna be legit at this, because you're still in the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
When was there a breakout moment where you were like, I can honestly make a living at this? It would have been Sundance, right?
It was
Because you started
Sundance.
crushing on Sundance and B Pro, I remember.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say it was probably like 84 is kind of when 83, 84 is when I kind of made the decision, like, I'm going to move out to California when I graduate. So at 83, I was probably a junior in high school, and I had already been racing quite a bit, and I'd actually turned pro in 84 when I was a junior, and that's when I kind of knew, like, you got to move to California if you want to make a living at it. So that's kind of when I knew.
So what did your parents say? Because I know what mine said. They're like, "You're doing what?"
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. They're like, and I told them, I distinctly remember, like in my junior year, like when I graduate, I'm not going to college right away. I'm going to put that off. I'm moving to California and I'm going to pursue racing and try to make a living at this thing. Because you have a short window, right? Like, so if I don't do it, I'll never do it. And college will always be there.
But anybody that knows a Midwest or an East Coast set of parents says, no, that's too free thinking. You're going to work with your dad, or you're going to go to college, and like that's a big deal for Midwest and East Coast parents. My parents were like, that's like a fantasy. What are you talking about? Why would you want to do that? Your dad has a great job, and you can join him and make good benefits. And I was like, what? So yeah, no, that's the East Coast Midwest mind, I think. So they were a little against it.
They were against. I don't know if they were against it, but they were like baffled and like, sure you are, right? like kind of show me kind of thing.
Okay. But you were making money on Sundance living there, so it's not like
I was. Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole reason. Back in that day, like that's the reason I turned pro, right? Like the only reason I turned pro that young and at that point was just to make some money so I could keep racing. Because I couldn't afford it, right? My parents couldn't afford to keep, like, dude, you're 16, you're 17, like, we can't keep giving you money to go to Iowa, to go to wherever to race your bike, and that's all great, you get a trophy or whatever, but, like, we got to grow up a little bit here, get a job,
But that's the thing, I have this conversation all the time with people, and I remember Moeller telling me about it, too. It's like, if you're not factory-sponsored, points-chasing amateur, Carter, King, Cully, what are you going to do? Well, I did it, you did it, Muller did it. You go, okay, I'm going to race B Pro because it's the only way I can afford to get to the next race.
Yeah.
So I think B Pro is good thing. Say if you're Griggs and these guys, you're going to go straight through. Because
Right.
you're a great amateur, you go straight through. But there are guys, because how was your amateur career?
So,
You weren't in the points hunt. That's incredible, though.
No.
You didn't come from. Look, you came from Wisconsin. You came from not an illustrious factory-backed points-chasing amateur career,
Yeah.
and you went on to be AA. Dude, that's insane.
like I was fast, but I wasn't factory fast, right? Like I was fast in the Midwest, and you know I was racing against guys like Danny Owens and Carmody and Shad Mason
So good.
and Ed
Eric
Simo,
Millman, Mike.
Eric Millman, right? Like so we had a fast group of guys, but you know I wouldn't go to the nationals and kill it. And even place in the top 4, right? I was lucky to make the main, and the best I ever did at a national was 4th place. I got
So
to
how
4th.
do you do? What's your mindset from that? Because I'm in the same boat. Like I was not half as legendary as you were, but in the same boat of like, how do you now race the best of the world and be competitive and win when you came from like an average beginner? That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, I think it just took time,
Confidence,
right?
right?
Confidence and time, and just kind of knowing in the back of your head, like I'm as good as these guys. I'm probably just not as strong as them yet. So I got to continue to work on getting stronger and work on getting that first straight speed to get engaged, right? Like to just get in there and be in the mix. Because bike handling skills and all that, like okay, I got that. I'm probably as good as the next guy. Not when you put me next to a King or a Carter, but I can hang, I can jump. But yeah, I think it was just, and I was racing against guys like Carmody and Shad Mason and Hans Neeson and Millman, like all these guys who were really big and pretty strong. And I was hanging, but it was like, man, they're just so strong, dude. Like,
And Carmody had a great career.
He had a great career.
He was on Huffy, he was on Patterson, right?
Yeah, he was on Astron. He was
had a
on
good
BXC.
Wow.
Mason was on, and then you had Hibner and you had Nuchin. Like, so you had a lot of these, like, really good, fast guys, right? And just racing against them. And then, like, also going, all right, I just got to get a little bit stronger. I got to get a little bit, right, so I can hang.
Yeah.
Because, being 140 or something against a 180, like, boom. See ya.
But they never had illustrious AA careers like you had either.
They never did, no.
That's
So I was a late
insane.
bloomer. Yeah. So that's what I kind of like.
Such a cool
My career
story.
took off when I turned pro, and I really started to kind of like, treat it as more of a job than, But I loved doing it, right? So, getting up early and doing sprints and doing them in the cold and doing them in the winter. And we had a buddy who had a friend who was a janitor for one of the schools. And so he would let us, in the winter, put our starting gate in the gym of the school.
No way.
So we would go there, whenever we could, pull that gate out, and in the gym we could do gate starts, and we could do laps, and we could ride, and we could do foot down, and we could do all this stuff inside the, the school gym. So we had all these little things that we could do, we had access to that maybe some other people didn't.
That's crazy. So it nothing stopped, never stopped.
No.
You never went, hey, we're done till April.
No, we never hung up.
I had a
twice.
indoor horse arena that was dirt. So I would go in there and I'd sneak in, put my Walkman on, and I would sprint in these circles, no jumps, just to get laps in.
Yeah.
What's going on, Kevin? How are you? So, you just made it work, right?
Just made it work, yeah. And you didn't know anything different, right?
Yeah.
So, and I do remember looking up to guys like Mike Paulson and Ellis at the time. Cause all those guys didn't live in California either,
That's
right?
true.
And they were super fast. And then just reading some of the things that Paulson would do as far as training, getting up at 5 a.m. before school.
I loved him. He's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at Ellis. He came from crappy weather and became one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, for sure.
But
for
that's
sure.
amazing, though. It's so you're such an inspiration to people that if they're racing today, if there's kids watching the race today, if you're struggling or you're not what you think you are at 16, just do the reps.
Right.
Because eventually you might have a blooming career.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is persistence, right? And it's persistence, having the love for it, and then just having the belief that And I think we always had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. You know, probably the same for anybody coming outside of California or Florida. Like, I can compete against any of these guys. I just need more reps at it. I need more chances to race them to prove it, right? And we didn't get that many chances to race them.
So our nationals were way huger than they have another weekend.
That's right.
Another weekend for them is our Super Bowl.
So if we crash in the first corner, well, see you next year, right? Like in Elkhart, Indiana or whatever, right? Like, well, that's my national. I just blew it, right? Like those guys are going somewhere to Lansing, Michigan the next weekend to have another shot at it, right? So I think just being persistent and just riding and having confidence and having the reps and being able to, you know, finally match up with those guys. And then you build from there.
Wow, it's amazing.
You know?
So you came move to California on Sundance?
I did.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
All right, so check this out. The Blaze, who is blowing my mind with this entire conversation, moves out to California to pursue a dream with a bike shop sponsor. See, everyone looks at you as like this the Elf guy, the Robinson guy. He's always had this thing of everything was handed. There's no way you completely busted your ass and like had the drive and the grit to make it happen. Well, I used to yell at Blaze. This is a long story. We had a thing back in the day with the POWs. But look, I never knew this story. That's why I want to talk to him today.
Yeah, Sundance was, but that was the team to be on. If you were in the Midwest,
Ross
McMahon. I mean, that whole crew. I mean, it was just awesome. It was so cool.
How big are they? Well, what made them be able to afford all these? Did they have multiple stores or?
No, they just had one, but they were the store, right? And I think they were doing some mail order too. Like, and that was way before kind of mail order was the thing, right? But yeah, to me, if you could get hooked up with Jim McMahon in Sundance and that team, and they were, especially on the NBL circuit, they were so well known, and it was so fun, and there's so many fast guys, and he would, you know, he took care of, you know, the riders that he had, you know, got you to races, you know, he'll pay entry fees, whatever it was.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know,
I thought they were some multiple shop thing to be.
No.
They had a giant team too.
Yeah.
That's
They had a giant team. It was
it was Sundance and Kegels, I remember from
yeah.
from
I
the
never ran
Midwest.
for Kegels. I just knew those guys just from being in the Midwest and
I think Melton's still on Kegels.
Yeah. Well, he's racing again.
I
He's
love
doing
Mark
some
Melton.
stuff.
I love another Midwest killer.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah.
So you come out on Sundance. This is insane. So then tell me about your experience when you first landed. What year did you come out?
85, October of 85. Yeah,
I
so
thought you were,
yeah.
oh, shit.
I
And you landed-
graduated in 85 and I moved out that summer. Like I threw everything I had in my car. My mom and dad gave me a gas card and said that'll get you
get there.
across the country, right?
My dad said, you better have a job when you get there. So I worked the right way because I needed a job, right?
Yeah.
So I got a...
I didn't even have that.
How long did it take you to get here? Because you were excited to get here?
I was, but I did make some stops along the way. So I stopped in Arizona. I had some friends there. Donna Mason had moved there. Jim Ball, who I grew up with his kids racing. He was a huge inspiration to me. Donna Mason is Shan Mason's mom.
Okay.
She's super involved in all the BMX stuff. So anyway, I stopped there and hung out with them for a few days, and then it took me like a week.
And then where did you go? Like I went
Went
home.
there, pulled up in front of his house in my old Pontiac, and I'm surprised he even let me park it there. And yeah, I mean, I met Harry just through races and just fucking knew him. And at some point, you know, I told him what I was going to do, and he's like, "Well, when you're ready to do it, just come out. You can stay with me." You know, to get you on your feet, you can hang out. We'll ride. We'll do some training and stuff, and kind of get you acclimated to California. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. No, I got an extra room. No problem.
Wow.
So like, he really, you know, he really helped me out.
My gas was my go-to. I stayed at Brian. Then I rolled up and his parents forgot I was coming out. That was good. But no, yeah, as long as
Christmas kids up front on the porch.
Had some Jersey Italian kids. Send them home. But yeah, we at least we had one connection to get you here, right?
Yeah.
Wow, what's that like?
That was awesome. Like those years were a lot of fun because I mean Harry lived in Azusa, right? Like we rode our bikes to Honda Hills.
Wow.
Hayden was right down, you know, around the corner, so I got to ride with him quite a bit. Harry introduced me to like places like Colossus and Parks,
That's all that's
right? And if you're pulling up with Harry, it's like you respect right away, right?
Who's
Like,
this Midwest dude with Harry?
yeah. So we'd pull up there, and Greg's Porsche would be parked there, and Toby would be there, and Brackens would be there, and Miranda, and like so it was,
So now what are you thinking mentally? Because now you're in with the Lions, right?
yeah. But now I'm like, all right, let's go, right? Let's do it.
What was your local? So Azusa was your local track?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I went to Orange a ton.
Orange, for
yeah,
sure.
but yeah, I would go to Azusa, and Azusa had the ADA track and then the NBL track. I would go to both of those.
What was around Azusa besides?
Pipeline was another one.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
In Upland, right?
In Upland, yeah. I went there a couple times. That straight was about as long as this table. That first straight. But like just going there. Yeah, Orange, and then Orange was like kind of daunting, right? Because Orange is like Orange.
Yeah.
That is just legendary.
Everyone says it. It's true. I didn't miss Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday for years because I'm like, it's a national.
Yeah. And then that's where everybody hung out.
Yep.
Right? And that's where like, all right, well, what are we doing after this? Oh, we're going over here. We're going
Harry's
over there.
Pizza, or we go to the Hill, the Orange Hill restaurant.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, what mentally, where are you at? Now you're like, okay, I gotta prove myself. I'm here. I'm in.
Yeah. So now I got to get a sponsor, right?
Okay.
Like so, and I think I'd already put out some feelers, and I was already pretty good friends with like Miranda and Harry and Eddie and a few of these other guys.
Salaco, how are you?
So I don't remember how it came up or who told me, but someone had told me that hey, Elf is looking for a pro. They're looking. They want to get on the map. They're looking for a pro. We've already talked to them about you. They want to come watch you ride when you come to Orange. I was like, all right.
Oh, but they picked Orange. You could be like, meet me at Azusa. I'm gonna get smoked on the first street.
Can we go to Upland or something?
Mike Luna's gonna pass me down the first street. He's 12.
Full on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Miranda was there, and Ken Pendergraft was there, and Carl Misso is basically the Rich Long of Elf, doing sales. And yeah, I did some laps, and I hung with some guys in practice, and again, they kind of already knew me a little bit. We had talked. And then, obviously, they had already had conversations with, like, Miranda and maybe some other people, I don't remember.
I'm sure Mike put a good word in for you.
Yeah, I think he gave him a little knuckles for me.
Nice.
Yeah, and then they're like, all right, you want to do it? And, they gave me a jersey, and they hooked
And
me
you
up.
knew they were there that night.
I knew they were there. Yeah, we talked and
That's
stuff.
pressure. You've been through pressure. You deal with pressure well. You're fine.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it all started. And back then, it was like you were kind of, unless you were in the scene and everybody was watching you, it's not like everybody would always just reach out and offer you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you had to go and make the effort to go do it, right? Make the phone calls yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I have some stories about that, right? It was just, you're your own agent, right? You want to get something, you might have to go call that guy and
Go down to the factory, say hello.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Send out your resume, whatever it was, but it's not necessarily that, there's plenty of guys who can just race and get picked up, but a lot of us had to do a little bit more than that.
So you get a salary, right?
When I first started with him, I did not. I got contingencies and, bikes and entries and all that kind of stuff. I was just getting contingencies. So no, not the start. That came like about a year later.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah,
You still
but I was like, I'm on board, man. I'll take my winnings. I'll take some contingencies. That'll
Did
be
you get
enough.
some co-sponsors to like Amy or something?
Yeah.
Or where you could pick up some photo contingencies?
Yeah, like I even had like some of that stuff before I came out here. Like Amy was already giving me stuff. 09 was helping me out quite a bit because of the Sundance thing. I don't think who else I had.
Where you were able, Ken let you just stay on board with all those people?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
They
that
were
was the other thing.
Like Dino, you're screwed.
Right. Yeah. Like he, that was one thing that took a little bit of work though, right? Like he did not like you wearing, like for instance, there was a period there where I was on Elf and I was wearing like Haro pants and stuff because I love their stuff, right? I've been wanting to wear that stuff forever. And then so when I finally was able to make it work, like they didn't want me to do it. Like Ken was like, we're not doing that.
You had arrows or something.
Right, I had Arrow. And then I got to ride dyno stuff.
James Pritchard's watching, of all people.
James. That's teammate right
Speaking
there.
of Elf, that's what I'm saying. We're talking Elf here, Pritchard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember Arrow, because the Arrows didn't look as good as the Haros or the Zeros.
No.
Yeah.
What was cool about Arrow, though, is you could get everything custom, right? Everything was like, so I could do whatever colors I wanted, white backs, dark blue back, like, so it wasn't like a standard, like, oh, this is an Elf color. I had to use their colors, but I could do all kinds of custom stuff.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I did like that, you know.
Could you get money from Arrow too, or no? They were all part
they
of it.
to my knowledge, they never paid anybody. They just couldn't afford it. But I could be wrong on that. But
no, these are the facts we need to bring to surface after all these years. The statute of limitations is over.
I think they gave product away, but I don't think they ever paid anyone. But again, I could be wrong on that.
Interesting. So Elf,
I know they never paid me.
you were on Elf forever, right? Ever.
I was on Elf for since like 85 until 88, end of 88.
Okay.
Yeah. So not I mean, for as long as my pro career, and then that end of 89 is when I went to Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a story in itself. But
I'm interested because
Yeah.
I think I heard or we chatted about it on the phone. Something where, because we were talking about that, like, didn't you just call? Straight up call? This is such a good story. Okay, did anybody, I love this because I always envision what would have happened. Did anybody offer you a ride when you were on Elf that maybe Hutch or something? But imagine if Blaze was on Hutch. That would have been cool. Did anybody offer you anything when you were on Elf?
I had a lot of people reach out to me, but nobody ever sent me the piece of paper to sign.
Okay.
Right? Like,
I
so
always
my
think,
name
like,
was.
what if you were on Patterson? I mean,
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
cool,
Like at that time, kind of 87, 88.
Eric Carter's watching. Eric Carter.
Eric Carter, yeah. Loved his backyard, by the way. Spent many a days there. God bless his mom. Yeah, my name was getting linked to a lot of different up and coming companies. Right?
Because this is it.
Well, Hutch, Schwinn, General. Yeah, and Hutch was when, Eric Carter, right? His dad was the one that was kind of taking over Hutch at the time, and we had talked several times about me riding for them and how we could do it, and I would have jumped at that chance just because I loved Eric's dad.
Yeah.
I loved how he just operated, super smart guy, he's the kind of guy that, obviously, because you could tell from Eric, right? Like, he's the kind of guy who just understood racing, and you could have a conversation after a race and go, look, if you would have done this, or we go do this.
Yeah, those
and
bear
then
conversations are just
phenomenal, legendary, right? Like, so I was really stoked on that. And that was, I think, actually when they ended up going with Ronnie Anderson. When he got on Hutch. I was like,
okay.
all right, so that one's gone.
Some General, like, what would happen if the Blaze is on the General? That would have
Yeah,
been so.
like I never talked to them, but I don't know my name was linked to them.
That's cool,
I remember even reading that in the magazine, but no one ever reached out and talked to me about that. And then I know Schwinn at one point when they were kind of doing their thing, there were some conversations there. But
that's cool.
Again, nothing ever happened.
So let's talk about this link between Elf and Robinson, because I'm interested. Because they had Greg already, right?
Yeah.
And they had Ellis, the same umbrella.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But and when we heard you were on Robinson, they got two guys. Like, that's kind of unheard of in that era.
So, but if you look back in that era, if you look at Diamondback had Eddie and Harry, you had. What were some of the other ones? I mean, obviously the Pattersons had the two, and then a lot of the teams were kind of going to like either one or two pros, and the teams were kind of starting to cut back, right? I think money was getting tight, and so teams are kind of going with, all right, where can we get the most exposure? Maybe we can get a pro or two pros, and they'll get us a little bit more exposure in the magazine and things like that. And whereas when you have a team, right, like you have all these other expenses, you got to get those guys there and all that. So, and that was kind of my pitch to Robinson. So I wasn't sure I was going to be back on Elf. Anyway, I think they were actually going the opposite, because at the time it was me and Glenn.
Oh, nice.
And maybe one or two other people, and then I think they were going to start to put together a team, and they didn't want to pay, So I'm like, I got to do something different. I got to try to figure something out. So I started, just calling out anybody I can find, whether it be, Diamondback. I think it was Harry at the time. It was, I don't even remember everybody that I called, but Robinson was one of them.
Wow.
And
you called Rich. You called Rich.
I did, but first I called Root Girl, right? So I talked to Greg about it. I said, look, I'm gonna. What about doing this, right? Because I'm not sure if you guys are gonna have a team, and I think maybe they were just gonna have Greg. What do you think about doing a 2 pro thing? Do you think they'd be up for it? And he was like, they might be, Call Root Girl. Go, kind of pitch it to her. Tell her what you want to do, and so he was kind of coaching me through the whole thing, and she was just shut me down.
No.
She was just like, look, we're set on what we're going to do. We already have a budget set. We're not interested. Well, what about this? And we're just not interested. We love you. Like, it'd be great to have you. We just can't afford it. And I'm like, all right. And I knew Rich from the races and just whatever. And so, and I think even Greg's like, just call Rich.
So,
just pick up the phone and call him. I'm like, right? Like, that's just thing. Like, you should call him, right? Just call him.
Handle it.
Yeah. And he'll vouch for me, but he's not going to stick his neck out for me, right? Sure. He's got his own ride to worry about. So, so I'm like, all right. So I picked up the phone. I called Rich. He took my call, and he said, I said, I've already talked to Root Girl. I understand that this isn't something you guys want to do, but here's the reasons why I think it would be really good. You can tell me what you think. Here's what I want. Is this even in the budget? And he said it's not. But he goes, let me think about it. He goes, what you want is not in the budget.
It's so
He goes, but let me think. He goes, I do like kind of what you're talking about. And I can see how this might work. So let me think about it, and let me call you back. I said, all right. So he called me back, and he said, here's what I'm willing to offer you. And he said, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, I'll take it.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was less money than I wanted. It was the same contingency plan that Gary and Greg were on, which I thought was awesome. Cool. Yeah. And obviously it was Robinson. It was GT. It was like the Cadillac of rides,
the checks
right?
were going to go through.
There was going to be no problem.
Yeah, flights are going to be fine.
Yeah. And now I'm already riding and training with Greg and TC and that whole crew. We were out in Moreno Valley living and training together. Yeah. You remember that? So that was just one of those things where, like I said, persistence, right? And just sometimes you just got to pick up the phone and you got to make your own thing happen. Because
you have, and I've talked to a lot of people over my entire life, and you created your own world. Nothing was ever like, well, it's Blaze, let's give him this thing, and he gets whatever. No, you actually legitimately fought your way into everything. It's awesome. That's cool, man. Do you find that in your regular life now?
100%.
You're like, I'm gonna call them if they don't call me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in sales, so I'm still the same way, right? Like I take home what I kill, right? That's what sales is, and that's the BMX mentality, right? Like you're gonna go out there and you're either gonna do it or you're not, and if you're not, then you gotta pull yourself back up and do it again.
You gotta know what you're gonna do before you do it. Like
that's right. You know.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
So,
that's a very interesting character study because you really fought for everything and you still do because it's in your DNA and you don't know any different.
Yeah.
At least you're not in the snow anymore. So
that was good. Yeah, I mean, moving out here was like the best thing. And my eyes were just like wide open for so many years when I was out here, right? Like I'm living in California. Yeah. I'm living in Southern California. I'm practicing at the Orange Y BMX where everybody else practices. I'm going into Bike Alley. I mean,
nice.
And then I'm pulling into Bike Alley and there's Pete Lonkerovich and there's, so and so because that was their shop and, and just all the support and it's so cool. So
amazing. So we have to touch on because I pumped you up on this, the SE thing. Because when I posted,
you're really milking that.
No, but here's why. Because when I posted it, because it's a rare thing, right? Even the coverage you got was rare, right? And then someone's like, I didn't even know. And then someone else said, I don't even know. So
that's because it lasted about 2 months.
That's what I'm saying. So let's chat about what was it all about? But when you were on Robinson though, did you ride stock Robinsons or did you have a custom bike?
I can't remember. I think it was stock. They might have.
The stock was nice. I had a stock one too.
Yeah, it might have been stock. I don't remember if they took my Elf and tried to kind of configure it to what I was riding on Elf, because I loved the Elf bikes. I thought they were awesome. I you know, like everybody liked free agents, and I thought free agents and Elves, to me back in the day, those were the days, especially on the West Coast. I thought. Yeah. You know,
I've never heard anybody complain about either of those bikes.
No. Cool. So I don't remember. I don't think it was anything custom. I think it was basically just a stock Robinson.
But looking at it now, that top tube's like 19 inches or something.
Yeah.
Because my last bike I ever rode was a Robinson I got from Bill Grad, because he's like, here, take this one, it's a Blam. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I looked at one now at 805 Bikes and seen when they have complete vintage. That's all they sell. Well, they sell mostly. And I saw a Robinson, I go, did I ride that thing? Like, how the hell did I not knock my knees into?
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So this SE thing, I'm milking it because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
2 months, huh?
2 months. I think it was like 2 months. So that was the same time, right? Like, so that was Robinson. So Elf was 88. Switched to Robinson for 89. Like, really cool. Actually had a pretty good year that year. Won quite a few races.
Pistol Pete's watching, by the way.
Pistol, right on. It's a good thing I just mentioned his name at Bike Alley.
In a nice way.
Yeah.
That dick, no. So was Scott was still around, right?
He was, but I was talking with Mike Devitt more. But Scott was kind of out of the picture, so same kind of thing. I mean, I was looking for a ride, so at the end of '89, Robinson was now going to go and field a full team. Didn't want to have 2 pros, didn't want to pay, and so they kept Greg. Todd, thanks. It's a good 1-year deal. Right on. And then I'm like, all right, here we go again. So I started, picking up the phone, calling people, seeing what's out there. And at that time, I think Charlie was getting let go from Diamondback. So he was looking. There's some really good riders looking for rides at that point, right? 89 to 90, 91. And all I was trying to do was get something set up before I got to Reno. Right, I just got off of Robinson. I got to get something hooked up before I get to Reno. Yeah. So I called Mike Devitt and I said, "Look, I'll just pay my entry fees. I'll just wear the jersey. We'll figure it out later."
Good, man. The Dino stuff looked pretty
good.
Yeah,
like I had the Dino pants and all that. So I kept that sponsorship. I still have my Robinson helmet. Right, that's why you see that helmet. So we acquiesced, and I think that the bike that I was riding, it was either. It was still my Robinson with SE stickers, or I got an Elf from Elf.
Somebody claimed a Henderson Hauler on.
No, it wasn't. Like, I never even rode an SE because I just put stickers on it. I'm like, there's no way I'm riding the quad angle. There's no way I'm riding the PK. It's like, I'm not doing it. So. Maybe I wanted to make it look like a Henderson Hauler.
Well, somebody had said that to me, and I was like, I don't know, I'm going to find out.
I think it was an Elf.
You needed something good because Reno had those giant doubles.
That's right.
That year.
Yes.
I didn't do them until the last lap of practice. I go, fuck, here we go. That's probably other than Irvine's doubles. Yeah. Those were probably the biggest things ever. Well, Bakersfield '87 were pretty big, the mud one. But remember those Reno doubles were stupid.
Yeah.
It's dumb. I know people are like, I'm not racing. This is dumb. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, they were huge.
You don't want a quad for those.
No.
So that's cool. That was an Elf, actually.
I'm almost 100% it was an Elf.
That's
I think
so
as
cool.
soon as I got off at Robinson, I think I went to Ken and said, "Hey, can I get a bike?" And
So
he was like,
so the dropouts. Would you have known it wasn't in SE if you saw it, like the dropouts?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like if you knew SE, you would probably look at that and go, "That's not a Henderson Hall." Like anybody who would know bikes, right? But
so you get to Reno, and then what goes on there?
So Reno was just me even trying to probably get another ride, right? Like just I think what it was is Mike was like, "Hey, let's see how Reno goes. I'll see if I can get more money. We'll see if we can kind of sponsor you for the season." They just didn't have money, right? Like they didn't have enough money to support a pro. And I think that was kind of like the reality for me. It was like, okay, the way the sport's going, like now I'm getting a little bit older. It's like, all right, the day of probably doing this 100% for a living is probably over. Time to like.
And that was Reno.
That was Reno-ish. That was like that year.
Okay. Right. Because my definitive moment was when Mike Luna pulled me down the straightaway at Orange Orange, and he's 12 and I'm 24. I go, I'm done. There's no way I could possibly do it. And my other defining moment was, for whatever reason, I was in front of Dave Clymer. He probably blew a start. At Black Mountain, I'm pedaling as fast as I possibly can around that bridge, and I'm going as fast as I can. I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. And he comes around pedaling.
Who's this?
Clymer.
Oh, Clymer.
Like, I'm standing still. I go, dude, I'm done. I can't go any faster. And if I can't, you know, because in Jersey I was okay with Dave. When he came out here, it was a whole other animal. Like, you know, he turned into a beast, right? And I'm like, these moments. And then I felt depressed about that when he went to Orange and Mike Luna pulled me down the straightaway. I go, this kid's 15. I'm done.
Well, it wasn't uncommon for you to get on a gate in Orange and get smoked by the
Robert
amateurs,
Zanow.
right? Yeah.
You're like, Robert Zanow's 15. I'm 24.
No, that doesn't kill your confidence.
Yeah.
Right?
So what?
Like,
so the SE thing, did you do SE for how 2 months?
I probably did it for a couple months,
How'd you
and then
feel
I went.
about
And then I went to Elf.
Okay.
And then Ken just he gave me a uniform, and then I think I raced Elf, and then I even think I went to like New Zealand and Australia. I don't know if I went to Australia. I know I went to New Zealand, and I'm trying to think of where else.
I can remember where a few years ago.
Let's see. Well, I think I went to Percy in SE gear. I think I was still riding Bercy stuff, so maybe I don't know when Bercy is.
That's where the money went. You went to France on this.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any money left. You should have stayed here.
Yeah. Well,
Just get Bercy, they pay for your.
they do, yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, I think I went back to Elf, and that's when I was kind of like, all right, I'm kind of at the point of, you know, I'm working, I'm trying to figure out a part-time job, so I can still race, right? You're going through all that, and then you're not doing it full-time, and then you're not quite as good. You're still competitive, but you're not, you know, to be really good, you got to do it 100%. And then that's when you start going, all right, maybe it's time to...
So how long was that career from say, Speed Pro to that race or that season? You would have been 85 to 90.
I do remember I kind of like, I kind of stopped for a little bit, I would say around 90, 91. Maybe I went to a few nationals, and then I came back. I think I reclassified into A Pro again, right? And that's when I was doing some of the stuff with Mongoose, like clinics and stuff.
Oh, shit.
With Lopes and a few other guys. So I could go to the races with them. And but yeah, I mean, I was still like, you still want to race, right? But I couldn't be as competitive, so then I reclassified. And then I was doing okay in that. Like a lot of guys, right? Like Cecil Johns reclassified down. Like there's so many like good guys that like, yeah, we still want to race, but we just can't race at that level. So, you know, and you had like the Danny Nelsons and all these other guys that were coming up who were just like on it, right? Like and just going so fast and doing 100%. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say from like 83 to, I don't know, early 90s, I was kind of doing it.
Wow.
You know,
That's
making
a
some money.
good run.
Yeah, it was good. You know, lived the life for a while and met a lot of good people and had a lot of fun, as you know, living out this way. And
Yeah. I hadn't gone back until last year for the New Jersey Hall of Fame in 32 years. Like I didn't go back. I just stayed out
don't you have
here.
family back there?
They all retired and moved south. So,
okay.
So I was like, oh, okay, and it was weird to see, but it was fun. Like, holy, it's been 32 years.
Yeah.
So, and I got to do it every year because now I organize the whole thing.
Yeah,
So I'll be going back every year. But you took the whole encompassing this whole thing is you took a chance, right? You could have come out and just, I'm okay, this is for me, but you stuck it out, you grit it out, you became a double A.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have
sponsored double A.
I could have easily bombed and been back home in a year.
What do you think was your greatest day where you're like, dude, this is the greatest day I ever had? Was it a race or?
I had a couple. There was one on Elf. I remember I think it was Akron, Ohio, and it must have been. It was probably '88, and I was traveling with Billy, and I remember we got to the track late, so we missed practice, which is pretty typical if we were traveling with Billy. Not that we would miss practice, but we would just like we're a little lackadaisical as far as like into the track on time, right? Oh, we'll make second practice. It's cool. We're good. And then we didn't make any practice. But anyway. So like motives were my practice, right? I didn't get any practice time on the track, and I ended up winning. I think I won open that day, and I don't know what I got in class. And then day 2, I doubled. And I was like, I was so stoked. And then there was another time I remember in Oklahoma when I was on Robinson with Greg, and the same kind of thing. I didn't win all 4 days, but I won I think class both days and doubled on Sunday. You know, just those days where you're just on and you're winning every moto. You know, you win your semi, you win the mains. Like it's just you're just killing it.
Your Irvine World Cup was pretty good too, if I remember.
Yeah,
I remember that was '87. And I
yeah.
remember seeing, like, man, he's really in there.
Yeah.
That was an elf thing, too, I remember.
Yeah.
But you never question, right? You just keep winning. You're like, oh, I won my semi, I might as well win the main. Like, you never,
right.
You're in that groove that, that's amazing.
But there's many a times, right, where, you know, where I kill it in the motos, and then I, you know, not make it out of the semi or something. It's like, oh, this is BLASER's day. And then it's like, right, you know, and you have those moments too where it's like, oh, you can't handle the pressure, and it's like,
well, nobody got more fifths in semis than me, so I've been open about that. I said that I got an award that no one has at BMX. That's more fifths in semis. So yeah.
Like I would say Coal Canyon that one year, that was '88 too, right? Like where I was winning motos by like a straightaway, right? Like because that was one of my tracks where I would go and practice, and I loved that track and just the flow of the track, and then so when that was a national before the Grands, and I was killing it, and then a couple bad starts in a semi, and that track just narrows in so quickly, and didn't make any mates.
What was crazy about Coal Canyon was. And I don't know if anyone ever noticed this, but by the time the mains came up, it was pitch black, and you couldn't see shit.
No.
So all day you could feel this rhythm of like, I got the gate down and see the first jump, and then the mains where you got to go as fast as you possibly can. It's dark, and that first jump you couldn't see shit. And in that first turn, someone's getting jacked.
Yeah.
So like that track was like, oh my god, I can't. If you had night blindness, forget it. There's no way. You need glasses at night. You're done, because that was one of the darkest tracks.
100%. And that gate, man, it just like goes like this when it gets to that first step up jump, and it's like it's so like just bar banging. It's crazy. And that first turn is nuts.
What was your favorite all-time track you ever raced?
Man, that's a hard one.
That's why I asked you. Even if you didn't do good, like you were like, this track's amazing.
I know. I mean, Louisville is always that track is just it flows, so it's such a fun track to ride, right? Like I don't know what it's like now. It's probably 100% concrete or something, but back in the day for the Grands, Tom Sawyer. I mean
South Park's a good one.
South Park is a good one. Yeah, North Park not so much, but South Park.
I broke my brake pad at South Park. First straight right turn. You could go over that whatever that thing was. It should have been made different. And I'm going into the third corner before the triple step up, and I go to hit my brakes, and my brake pad breaks, and I go straight. And I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. I got to drive back to Jersey in like 6 hours. This sucks. But I never heard anybody ever say I broke my brake pad before.
Yeah.
But I did. That's South Park.
Nice. You have the record for that.
I do. I got records for a lot of dumb shit. But I remember that triple step to the right was so good.
Oh, so fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Slavic would like cut the grass. I'm like, that's so sick. Yeah, that was.
That's another thing when you tax on dirt.
So Louisville's so good, right? Like,
Jesus. I'm sure that's in the top of pretty much everybody's top 5. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's such a fun track. I don't know. I mean, I know people used to hate indoor tracks. Like, they thought it was the stupidest thing. But, like, for me, growing up in that stuff, it was so fun. Like, you could go so fast and lay your bike so low. And if you could... You know, there's so many people who couldn't speed jump those tabletop wood jumps, and if you could, man, it's
like there was
so fast.
There were some guys like Sewell, right? Timmy Judge, like people that just really excelled at those tracks.
Totally,
Even Denny Owens.
Oh, Denny Owens
was the shit on cement tracks.
100%.
So good, right?
In the Midwest, he was the man.
That's amazing. We had one in the Armory in New Jersey, and you would pull up and then you would forget to wire your grips on, so when you pull up for the first jump, it had been raining or snowing, and you just pull up for the first jump and your grips in your hand. I forgot there's going to be some rain under there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How many times you go to the track, right? And you drive, like, say, from Wisconsin to Indiana, in a snowstorm, right? And you get to the track and you're taking your bike off the bike rack and it's full of snow, it's frozen.
The chain's frozen.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Blaze, amazing. I learned a lot.
Thank
I always
you, man.
wanted to ask you some cool stuff about the SE stuff.
This is
Got
fun.
that out of
Thanks.
the way.
I'm glad I remembered some stuff.
I'm glad I forgot that it's tomorrow's Todd Corbett, guys. I came down here. I'm sitting here ready for Blaze, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the wrong day. So we're gonna have a special guest tomorrow, and we're gonna have Todd Corbett tomorrow. But it's awesome talking Blaze. This was amazing, and you can I'll keep this. It stays on.
Thanks, everyone.
It
It
stays
was
on
fun.
the Facebook page. So BMX Legends Society. You can scroll down and see all the episodes. Jeff Botima, Byron Friday, Greg Hill. Blaze will be up. So thank you all for watching, and go out and ride.